Hello, welcome to Trends. I am Bumi Obano. Excited to be here today with Wale Fakile. How you doing?
Also excited to be here once again with you.
Of course, you have to be. I'm fabulous like that.
Okay. Well, we'll have to discuss that after the show.
You know, let me time you. I won't forget to Wale discussing my fabulosity.
Okay. Enough of your fabulosity. Let's start with African politics in Burkina Faso. Now, the country has a new president-elect. Can you beat that?
Hooray.
Yeah.
And he's a Christian.
Yeah, he is. The country held an all-important general election on Sunday, and today the Electoral Commission announced that former Prime Minister Marc Roch Kabore is the new president-elect. Now, the elections came after the ouster of former President Blaise Compaoré last year in a popular uprising. Now, after it was toppled, a transitional government was put in place to ensure that the country returns to democratic rule, but the process was almost truncated.
Yes.
In a coup in September. The elite presidential guards detained the interim president, Michel Kafando, but they were, the coup plotters were arrested.
So this is like really good news for that country.
Fantastic news.
Earlier today, I was listening to the news while I was preparing for Trends, and you know the new elected president was saying how he's so excited about this, and it's already being called, you know, a democratic election. Like, you know, it was free, it was fair, relatively, and the violence a lot of people expected this time around was not recorded as such. So it's actually it's good news for
Fantastic
Africa.
News because even if you look at the history of Burkina Faso, since I think they've had independence for like 27 years, a large chunk of the leaders came into power through coup.
Yes.
But this time around, it's a democratic process.
Democracy.
So it's fantastic. And the guy has said that Marc Kabore has said that his first port of call will be to revive the country's economy that was battered by the abortive coup in September.
I believe every president's first point of call
to revive the economy. So it's a no-brainer for him to have said that.
If you're not hungry, you'll be not as angry. So feed them, and they'll probably not come after him.
Okay.
So it's a good one.
Okay, so let's leave the anger aside and move on to the next one. Today is World AIDS Day, December 1st. Now it's a day set aside to mark or to commemorate those persons that have lost their life to the disease, and also draw attention to the fight against HIV/AIDS. Now, talking about the fight against HIV/AIDS, I think the world has made some gains because new infections are falling by 35% since 2001.
Which is
and
good
also,
news.
fantastic news. And also, AIDS-related deaths have dropped more than 40% since 2004 to 1.2 million a year. But I haven't looked at all these successes, but we'll still say that the battle is still on. You know, HIV/AIDS remains one of the biggest challenges, you know, of public health to the world. So,
and sadly, Africa still has a great percentage of people infected with that
and new
virus.
infections.
Yes.
You know, it majorly affects countries of low income and middle income countries. So, basically, that's what we're looking at. And don't forget that you can join the conversation by tweeting us at TVC News_Africa. Adding the hashtag TVC Trends, and also comment on our Facebook page at facebook.com/TVC News Africa. And you can send your pictures and video comments to us at the trends at tvcnews.tv.
Definitely. All right, on to what today is all about. Now, as you all know, Pope Francis ended his 6-day tour to Africa in the war-torn Central African Republic on Monday by warning that religious conflicts are spawning civil war, terrorism, and suffering throughout the continent. He visited a refugee camp there and a mosque in a Muslim neighborhood of the Central African Republic's capital, and that has been a flashpoint. That particular area has been a flashpoint for violent clashes. He continued his message of religious tolerance on the final leg of this tour. People trooped out in mass to meet the Pope, as expected when he visited Kenya and Uganda earlier on his tour, where he presided over a holy mass and preached peace. Can the Pope's visits prefer a solution to ensuring political stability and resolving unending crises in Africa? I would really like to know the answer to that. This and many more we will be discussing today on the program. But before we answer those questions, take a look at this.
The sky darkened as Pope Francis made his way through the Kenyan capital. It's the rainy season here, but a far more worrying cloud hangs over the country that of widespread corruption. And President Uhuru Kenyatta pleaded with the pontiff to pray for him in his fight against graft.
Your Holiness, like you, as a nation, we want to combat the vices of corruption which sacrifice people and our environment in the pursuit of illegal profit. Indeed, it misdirects resources, sows hatred, and divides our people. We know we must win this war, and it falls on me to lead it. And Holy Father, I ask for your prayer.
This visit comes just a day after Kenyatta fired 5 cabinet ministers accused of corruption. But that's not the only issue facing the country. Pope Francis chose to focus on other challenges.
Experience shows that violence, conflict, and terrorism feed on fear, mistrust, and despair born of poverty and frustration.
It wasn't all doom and gloom, though. The pontiff also struck a hopeful note.
Yours too is a nation of young people. In these days, I look forward to meeting many of them, speaking with them, and encouraging their hopes and aspirations for the future.
All right then, that was Pope Francis. You know, he looks pretty strong for a 78-year-old man.
Yeah, he is. But I want to dwell on his message in Kenya.
Great.
He actually visited a
Always
slum.
serious, Wale.
And he berated the country's rich elites,
He
for
did,
what he
he
described
did.
as injustices against the poor and unfortunate. So that's peculiar with the Pope. He's modest, and wherever he goes to, he brings a message of unity, and also that, you know, you shouldn't look down at the already downtrodden of the society.
If anything else, the people that you should lift up the most are the people who are less fortunate than you are, the vulnerable.
Yes.
And the people, they were really excited. You know, I was reading lots of reports and some articles that journalists wrote about that
LGBT
event.
community.
They, however, were not as excited because they were hoping that the Pope would, you know, grant them audience. There's one in particular who, you know, said he had already sent, you know, requests to meet with the Pope, but nothing was said, and he didn't even make mention of the issue, especially in Uganda, where a lot of, you know, homosexuals and the rest of them are being...
The country really frowns
yes,
at, you know, homosexuals. Like, it must be quite painful for them because initially they were expecting that even if he won't promote or talk about their cause, that he should even preach the message of tolerance, you know, for the LGBT community, but he didn't say anything about it, so they're really disappointed.
All right, but that is not all that we have for you today. But first of all, let's go on a quick break, and when we come back, the conversation begins proper. Welcome back, and you are still watching Trends, just in case you forgot in that brief second that we were away. Now, joining us to discuss the issue at hand, which is the Pope's visit to Africa, we have Seyi Martins. Seyi is a broadcaster, he's a lawyer, and of course, a member of the Catholic Church. And joining us via Skype is Mohammed Malik. Mohammed is a country representative for UNICEF in Central African Republic. It would be great to have both of you, you know, give us an insight into the significance and expected impact of the Pope's visit to Africa. So welcome, Seyi.
You're welcome.
And welcome, Mohammed. All right then, let me just kick off with you, Seyi.
Right.
The Pope came to Africa, hooray. He visited 3 countries. And a lot of people are trying to dissect, why did he go to Kenya and not this? Why did he go to Uganda and not this? Why, you know, all of that. So help us understand the significance of the 3 countries he went, just how significant is it rather, that he went to Kenya, Uganda, and Central African Republic? Because I want to believe that these things were strategically programmed.
Indeed, indeed. You must. His Holiness looked at it because of the way he's been preaching God's love to the people. The three countries involved, you'll see they have peculiarities. What is happening in Central Africa Republic is a war, religious war, essentially, Muslims and Christians. What is happening in Uganda is the issue of abject poverty, where 1% of the population rules over 99 who are almost scratching to get a feel of what government is all about. And in Kenya, you've had this issue of terrorism, which is so persistent and it's continuing, and government didn't seem to have a clue how to go about it. The issue of those three key issues are what His Holiness thought, okay, we must deal with this because it pervades the whole of the continent. We have war, and we cannot discountenance that in Central African Republic. We know how people have been killed because of their faith. We know how people have been discountenanced, discriminated against because of their faith, which is why he said, taking Central African Republic for instance, that we are brothers, Christians, Muslims. All it's about love thy neighbor. God, who created you, who created me, wants us to love one another. In Kenya, Al-Shabaab took the religion and said, well, this is what we're going to do: maim, kill, destroy, because there is a lot of Western influence in Kenya, so they want to is a soft target for them.
Okay,
and those are the issues the Pope is looking at.
Okay, so let's bring in Malik now, who is in Central African Republic. Now, Malik.
Hello, yes.
So there's this article I read before coming on set. Now, I learned that a Muslim man was killed. A Muslim man was killed in PK5, which is a community that has been besieged by the anti-Balaka Christian militia. Now, the Pope, in his message in Central African Republic, preached unity, preached reconciliation. Now, tell us if the Pope's visit would alter how the Muslim community will react to this latest killing in that country.
I don't know if you are hearing me well, but I just wanted to thank you for having me in your program, and just maybe reiterate what you have said, or what was said previously, which is that the Pope visit has been something which is extremely significant in the current context of, in the sense that it is a kind of momentum in bringing back peace, in sending message across the country, across different segments, across different religious affiliation, for people to get back together and work together, manage their difference, accept their difference, and tolerate the people who are from different ethnic group or different religious affiliation, and work together for a better future of them. And this message has come across. I have witnessed when the Holy Father addressed the government, the international community in the President Palace. I was in the pediatric hospital in the afternoon. I saw the crowd that gathered in Bangui that was very cheerful and very joyful. I saw his visit in the IDP camps, but also the momentum, or one of the momentum of the visit was also when he crossed to the enclave where the Muslims are restricted from movement or are blocked for more than 2 months. He went to the mosque, he went to meet the community, he meant to meet the suffering people and come with the same message that I was mentioning earlier, which is the message of peace, reconciliation, social cohesion, and pulling together and pulling back together the country as a one, beyond the difference of religious affiliation and the difference in ethnic belonging or geographical origin.
Okay, all right, Mohammed. Now, to be honest, of all his trips and all the visits to 3 countries, I think the most powerful was probably his visit to Central African Republic because of the kind of reaction it generated. And yes, like you've said, it gave the people hope. But what happens after, now that he's gone, what happens next? Is this enough to bring about change in the lives of the people of Central African Republic?
I believe that the visit of the Holy Father could be a momentum. It could be an important piece in the process of reconciliation, in the process of bringing back peace and social cohesion. But we cannot say that it will be the single piece that will solve all the problems. I don't believe so. But as I say, it's the momentum, as there was other momentum. If you remember well, in the beginning of 2015, there was a local and grassroots consultation toward the Bangui Forum. UNICEF, we did a national forum of the children in the eve of the national forum. We did engage with the 10 armed group and get them sign an agreement, not only to reach the children they had with them, their armed group,
all right,
but not
Mohammed. Mohammed, sorry, I have to.
All those.
I apologize, Mohammed, but I have to cut in at this point because we need to go for another short break. But when we come back, we will still have Mohammed and Sheyi, in the studio with us. Well, Mohammed via Skype, but they will still be with us to talk more about the Pope's visit to Africa. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Trend. Yes, we're talking about the Pope's visit to Africa and what this really means to the continent, especially ranging from issues of terrorism to poverty to, just religious intolerance rather, and turning it over to religious tolerance. And before we went on break, Wale, you were discussing with Sheyi over here, especially because
in Central African Republic. Now, I was asking Malik that will the Pope's visit alter how the Muslim community would react to this latest claim of the Muslim man in PK5, and you said you had a contrary opinion.
Actually, it's every death horrors me, and it should. We cannot say it is not significant, but indeed, some people just wanted some reaction. It's not the Muslim people, they are the minority, and a very, very obtuse minority indeed. People you've lived with, people you went to school with, people you shop with, people you buy stuff with, suddenly isolated from the community. So when this, the death of that man in PK5 is something to urge the government to do something. And I believe the Pope is one of the most influential people in the world. And he's not going to suggest and say and respectfully ask the government that religion is not enough to make us hate. We cannot hate one another because we profess the belief in God. And God made man in his own image. And that's the Pope's message all over the world, that people should be tolerant. People should meet each other and respect one another, whatever religion, whatever faith you try to profess.
All right. Okay, Mohammed, now, just after the Pope's visit, we hear that the former president is saying that he wants to run this time around, for presidency. And of course, the Pope has talked about reconciliation, forgiveness, and, so his party is saying that, using this message of the Pope, let's forgive him, let's give him another chance, let's be peaceful. Do you see that happening in any way? Do you think people would actually vote for this man that they kicked out not so long ago?
I cannot comment much on that, but I heard, like anyone here in Bangui, that name of potential candidate for the presidential election is circulating. I heard name of the former president or name of people who formerly had got responsibility in the country. My understanding is that the clearance of the final list will be issued around 8th of December. We are all looking toward this milestone and see what it will bring. But I think that we should not confuse between the message that the Pope sent, which was very strong, and which, as I said, has come across the society for forgiveness, for the tolerance, for peace, and for reconciliation, with the fact that there are people who have held a kind of responsibility that they have to explain or to stand for. I guess that those who have direct responsibility in the current situation of the country, also the case was raised a few months back during the Bangui Forum. There was a strong appeal for a kind of forgiveness. People agree that forgiveness should be there, but we should not confuse forgiveness and impunity. And I am understanding that also to strengthen forgiveness and reconciliation, people also have to face their responsibility, mainly those who have direct responsibility in committing atrocity, in committing war crime, or committing extreme forms of violence. I don't think that the message of tolerance should be confused or should be kept together with the message of also the need of justice and the need of bringing certain number of actors to justice. Now, we are not naming anyone. We don't know how the situation will be in coming days, but I think that in the international community here, in the civil society, in the political platform, this discussion is there. And I think it didn't start just now. It started during the grassroots consultation for the Bangui Forum, and it has come like a very strong message also during that.
Okay, so let me go back to Martins now. I want to let us look at the broader picture. On his way back to Rome, the Pope made a very interesting comment. I wanted to read a quote for quote here, and he said, Africa was a martyr of exploitation by wealthy countries who lost after its resources and imposed Western values instead of concentrating on development. Now, what do you make of this? What impact would this strongly worded comment have on how the West perceives Africa?
You don't have to think too far. Look at Sierra Leone, look at Liberia, look at Zaire, South Africa, all of these places. What's the blessings that came out of it? Is the diamond. And that is why people talk about blood diamond. And that is what people lust for. That's what the West lost for. So these are the things that make people who are owners of those countries even poorer. And this is what the Pope is saying, that so many people have died for what God gave them, which they didn't benefit from. And so leaders of Africa are being asked to, look, all these people who have died, somebody has to take responsibility. That's the justice. Justice does not mean because there's reconciliation, let's forgive each other and forget. There has to be someone to take responsibility. So those people died for things God gave them. In places like Central African Republic, it is the same. Yes, we're talking about religious intolerance. How did it start? Somebody must be responsible. In Kenya, in Uganda, all of these places, it is the poor people that are suffering. Is the government saying much or doing much? That's the question we're asking. And that's what the Pope was addressing, saying that Africa must look to let the souls of those who have been martyred not die in vain. Let them be a beneficiary of what they have been given, their God-given gifts.
I'm quite curious to how you think the West, which I believe is part of what you were, asking, how the West would react to this question. But before, you answer my question, I believe I have to go on another break. Yes, we want you to relax and enjoy the program properly. So yes, please stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break. And you are still watching Trends. Thank you for staying tuned. Okay, Sheyi is with us and Mohammed is with us. Now, Sheyi, just before we went on a break, I was posing a question, which I hope I can still remember now. Okay, yes, has to do with the West. Now, with that message of the Pope, how do you see the West reacting?
It's very easy for young people trending to appreciate and understand this, because we saw all of this when Liberia and Sierra Leone went into civil war.
I fear that, you say that, but I fear that maybe not, because the young people you're talking about were you're really young and maybe not, you know, really.
They are the proponents
They
of
didn't
fair
really
trade.
suffer because, you know, a lot of times, yes, children suffer, but they still really grow and forget easily.
The point is,
So we didn't see the suffering that you're talking about.
The West is beginning to understand. People in the West, particularly young people, are beginning to understand the concept of fair trade.
Okay.
Now you cannot take a rock from any part of those countries to take into anywhere and to sell off. They can identify, they know where these things are. Technology has gone way, way advanced for them to identify rocks from Sierra Leone, Liberia, from South Africa, from Central African Republic, Congo, and all of those areas. So it's not easy anymore. Fair trade it is. These people who are producing this rock for next to nothing, what are we giving them? And men will go after good rocks, good diamonds, just for one thing. It's a woman's best friend, is it not?
It's becoming a man's best friend
So-
as
so,
well.
let's take reactions from social media. Linda Jumila says, hashtag Pope Francis prayers intention for December, that all may experience the mercy of God, who never tires of forgiving Pope in Africa. And Nela Gosho says, these stories are a reminder of why hashtag Pope Francis should address homophobic violence in Uganda and it ends it with the hashtag Pope in Africa. Cindy Wooden says, Pope Francis told reporters on plane to Africa, only thing he fears is the mosquitoes. That was when he was coming to Africa. Roby in Creole says, corruption is like sugar, sweet and easy, but too much can make you or a country diabetic. Pope in Africa. We still have more. And this comes from Sakaja Johnson, who says, he appeals to the young people of the generation to build a society that is more just and inclusive, be concerned for the poor, just like the message of the Pope. Pope in Africa. Hannah McNish says, onto hashtag Pope in Uganda, will he challenge anti-homosexuality campaign championed by evangelical Pope in Africa? I think that's about that. Let me go back to Malik now. Now, we want to know, after all this, the Pope has left, he's gone back to Rome. What is the role of UNICEF in ensuring that the crisis in the country does not spiral out of control? It doesn't go back to how it was before the Pope's visit?
I mean, the work of UNICEF here in Bangui, in the Central African Republic, is severalfold. Because as you know, UNICEF, we do have a mandate which is rooted on the Convention of the Child Right, which gives us severalfold work. I'm focusing mostly on child survival. I'm dealing with the issue relating to nutrition, or relating to health, and relating to the reduction of under 5 mortality. As you know, I mean, under 5 mortality, CAR has got one of the worst indicator in this front. The 8 worst under 5 mortality we have. On maternal mortality, it is like the 3rd worst maternal mortality on Earth. Malnutrition, we have more than 40% of chronic malnutrition, which is almost 1 child out of 2. Access to education is also a big challenge, because so far, I mean, before the crisis, we had like 1 child out of 3, no, 2 child out of 3 attending school, but this has been also hampered and constrained by the insecurity that the country is experiencing, making it very difficult for parents to let children to go to school, or for children experiencing all sorts of violence on the road to school or within the school context. We do have also massive issue of protection, which is also enrollment with armed group, which I referred to earlier, like, for example, 6,000 to 10,000 children in a small country of 4 million people enroll into armed group, enroll in different, as a combatant, messenger, as a coup, and sometimes as a sexual slave. We do, and I can name it, I mean, I can continue. We have so many forms of violence. You must have heard in the recent period in the international media, all the issue related to sexual offense, sexual abuse, and allegation related to that the children are experiencing here in this country. You have street children, you have worse form of child labors. I mean, pulled together, we are saying that Central African Republic is one of the worst places for a child to be on earth today. Given this backdrop I have just given, you can imagine UNICEF work in all this front. And we do believe also that given the experience, the recurrent crisis that the country has gone through, building a better future will have to start by investing into the generation of children you have today. We have to raise them on the value of tolerance. We have to raise them on the value of accepting difference. We have to educate them based on the value of managing diversity.
Okay.
And those are the core values that bring tomorrow reconciliation, peace, and social cohesion. And that's the kind of massive UNICEF is working
Mohammed?
on. And it's just an beside all we are doing on the front of child survival.
I hear you, Mohammed, and it's quite interesting. He has stated a lot of things that are wrong right now in Central African Republic and things that they are trying to do, to make it better. But a lot of people, are saying, can the government actually solve the problem? Do they have that capacity?
Yes, indeed, they can. Every government can do their best to solve to solve problems. The situation in Central African Republic is not peculiar to that country. It can happen. We're talking about a population of just 4 million. This is not up to Ikorodu. Indeed. So you're looking at a situation where basic things, just like Mohammed has said, don't seem to be there. Why do people say we want to be in government to serve? To serve who? It's not been like that from the time of Emperor Bokassa and all of those people that came. But the situation is, government can't change things if you're really serious.
Okay.
The mantra of change that we're preaching in Nigeria is making people understand even better
the role government can play because
play.
Really they hold the power to change. All right, now before we continue the conversation, let's go on another break and we'll be right back to talk more about what the Pope's visits just might end up doing for Africa. Stay tuned. This is still Trends, and yes, we are talking about the Pope's visits in Africa. Now, there's a peculiar issue that I want us to talk about, moving away from Central African Republic. I'm sure, Sheyi, you'd like that for now. During one of his flights, I think when he was returning to Rome, he was asked the question of his stance on the use of condom. Or, why the church isn't speaking out more about it, because it's going a long way in curbing the spread of HIV, right? And instead, he dismissed the question, and saying there are more important things right now that I believe we should be addressing, issues of poverty, issues of, and not a lot of people are, very happy with that response, because they're saying the church's stance on celibacy is not helping the fight.
Well, the issue of celibacy and the use of condom for contraception are two different issues where the church's stand is very clear. Celibacy is a way of life, and if you truly serving God and you experience a celibate life, it's a wonderful way to live. Am I a celibate?
Yeah.
I wish I were. I wish I were. I love the priesthood, but not all of us are called.
Yeah,
but
we need to populate the environment as well.
Yes, completely. Some people will do that, all right. But the point of contraception, there is a definitive rule by the Catholic Church, and the Pope is not just going to discuss that, because other issues come over and above that. The issue of poverty. Why are we having abortion, particularly now? So when people talk about, yes, would you not say, wouldn't it be contradictory that condoms can prevent all of this, can prevent HIV, AIDS, can do this, can do that? And the church says, no, there is a better way. But that is not an issue now. The issue is terrorism.
And it's not even
poverty.
It's not way.
No, it shouldn't be one of the top of what is trending. What is trending now is terrorism. It's poverty. How people can get back their country, take back our land, let the politicians start seeing the right thing and bring change into their way of life.
I might not disagree with you completely, but looking at statistics, even till now, lots of women are dying because they do not have access to contraception. And I think a lot of people are saying, for you to think that is not important, yes, poverty is important, but every issue that causes harm to human life should be as important. And I want Mohammed to join the conversation now. How would you react to, you know, the Pope's response about the issue of contraceptive condom in particular, you know, at this point not being as important a conversation as other things?
What I can say is that this issue has not been discussed or debated long in the context of CIR, given the fact that, violence and security, sectarian violence mainly was the dominant of the Pope visit. But I do believe that also among the challenges that the country is facing, which I have referred to earlier, we do have also issue of HIV/AIDS prevalence, which is extremely high compared to even the average of the sub-Saharan Africa. And we do believe also that maternal mortality due to lack of antenatal care or due to difficulties of controlling birth are also an issue of development in this country. From my standpoint as UNICEF, we do believe that everything that giving choice and possibility to young people to access to means of protection on HIV/AIDS, everything or possibility.
Okay, Malik, thanks for that response. But I'd like to direct this to Martins. Now, I read that hundreds of Ugandans signed a petition that the church should allow priests, should allow them marry. You know, what's your take on this?
Well, it used to happen. It used to happen in the old days. In 1060s, popes used to marry. Popes had wives. But for it to happen now, no. It's not going to happen, and we don't think the church will allow priests to marry. It is better they don't. Let them stay celibate, holy, and prayerful, so that we all can get to where we need to be.
All right, Mohammed, please, on a final note, can you just, you know, give us your final words as we wrap up the program?
Our final word was
all right.
To say how much excited to have the Holy Father visit Bangui. It was very timely because, as you know, the past few weeks and months, we have been making a kind of step back into the process of peace, reconciliation, which started early this year. And I think the Pope visit has rebuilt this momentum and has also dragged again international community into CIR. Knowing that this is one of the places where children are suffering most, this is one of the worst places for a child to be. Having this international community attention, bringing back child, CIR, under the radar of the international community, something very important. I just wanted to thank thank also the international media for this wide coverage that we have been from.
Thank you, and we're very grateful for that, Mohammed. Thank you very much for being a part of the program, and thank you, Shay, as well, for being a great part of the program. We appreciate both of you. All right, so Wale, how can they remain a part of the program?
Just go to @TVC_News_Africa and using the hashtag TVC Trends, also comment on our Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/TVC Trends. And also send your pictures and video comments to us at vetrends@tvcnews.tv. I'm Wale Fakile. Bumi.
And I am Bumi Obano. Bye for now.